Hi, it's Renee. We're here to discuss your event readiness guidelines. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about what you need to do to prepare yourself for your event and what Spruce Street Studios is going to do in order to assist you. First, we're going to start with the first page. That's our event readiness timeline. And there's 5 steps on there. You book your event, place your deposit, make your final payment. Then we have the event readiness form. Then we'll have a event readiness meeting. And then a couple weeks before, we'll order your linen and then you'll be all set. So let's get into your guidelines right now. We're going to start with general scheduling. This is really important when you schedule with your vendors and when you hire your vendors and when you interview them. It's really important to schedule a general timeline with them. How long will it take for them to set up? How long will it take for them to break down? When will they need to get into the building? So just working out a general timeline with them will help you when it comes time to fill out your event readiness form so that you know how much time to schedule and what time frames to schedule in the venue. What we'll do is we'll make sure to schedule the event managers to be there during those specified time frames. This way it stops you from having to backtrack many times with your vendors, calling them all over again to find out and confirm. You'll just need to confirm with them, at the end of all of your planning, exactly what time they'll be there, exactly what time they're leaving, so that we can get your general schedule lined out. We're going to touch on event insurance. You need to have your event insurance policy to us 30 days prior to your event, and it's general liability and host liquor liability. Even if you aren't having alcohol at your event, it's really important to get host liquor liability in case one of your guests comes into the building inebriated or sneaks in alcohol. You just want to make sure that you're covered for that. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you'll have about the event insurance. We also have a video tutorial on our website, which takes you through the event insurance step by step, making it easy peasy for you. Let's talk about your wedding decorator. What you need to do is schedule some time to sit down with your decorator and find out how much time they need in the space, and depending on how elaborate your setup is, so that you can schedule your specific time frame either the day before or the day of for your decorator to come in. And then we'll make sure that we have the event manager there for the specified time frames that you schedule with us to let your decorator in and show them where they need to go. Let's talk about your wedding planner. You'll inform your wedding planner of the specified time frames that you'll be in the studio, and then let us know when your wedding planner will be on site to oversee the details of your event. We'll make sure to let your wedding planner in during the specified time frames and show them around the studio and where to park and all of that. Let's talk about entertainment. This is really important. When you hire your entertainment, it's really important to find out how long it takes for them to set up, how long it takes for them to break down, and also discuss an end time with your entertainment so that we make sure that they get out in time for you to leave the building. Also, a very important part to discuss with your entertainment is how much space they're going to take up in the building for their designated setup. Also, you'll want to talk about if you have a master of ceremonies, if the DJ is a master of ceremonies, them dismissing tables for you during the event, or will your wedding planner do that, or will your caterer do that? So I'm jumping forward a little bit, but that's something to discuss with your entertainment. Our event staff will make sure to let your entertainment in, show them where to park, and show them where they need to set up. Catering. You'll want to inform your caterer of your specified time frames. Also discuss how long it will take for them to set up prior to your dinner time. You may want to invite them to the event readiness meeting so that they can come and view the space ahead of time so they'll know how to best prepare themselves to come in and set up for your event. This information will be due with your event readiness form, so make sure to have all those details in place. What we'll do is we'll let your caterer in, we'll show them where they need to set up, and show them where they can park their cars. Photographer. In your event readiness form, you're going to let us know what time your photographer will be on site to take photos. Also, if your photographer has, or your videographer have a photo booth, we'll discuss at your event readiness meeting where to set up that photo booth and how it fits in the room with the number of guests that you have. We'll make sure to let the photographer in during your specified time frames and show them where to park. Your cake vendor. You'll want to definitely make your cake vendor aware of your specified time frames so that they have time to come into the building and set up the cake. We don't want that to be too close to the time that your guests will arrive. The last thing you want is someone bringing in a cake while your guests are arriving. It makes it very stressful. Also, if you need room in the refrigerator or cooler, please let us know, and make sure that you have a cake box for your top tier and also to-go boxes for leftover cake. We love cake, so if you want to leave it with us, that would be okay. Okay, your officiant. Let your officiant know of your scheduled timeframes, including the timeframes you have the day before your event for a rehearsal. Also, you'll want to discuss with them their requirements for sound system and microphone. We will let the officiant in on the day of your event and show them where they need to go. Uplighting. If you rent uplighting from Spruce Street Studios, we will ask you to select the number of lights that you wish to rent for your event. We'll list that in the rental agreement, and then at our event readiness meeting, you'll select the colors and the placement of the lights, and then we'll have them ready for you when you come in to decorate for your event, and we'll have them all set up for you. If you have an outside vendor coming in, you'll need to notify them of your specified timeframes that you're in the studio, and you'll need to find out how much time they'll need for setup and what their electrical requirements are. And we'll make sure on the day of that we let them in during your specified timeframes and show them where they need to set up. Okay, your dance floor. At your event readiness meeting, we will line out the area that you would like to use for your dance floor. And it really depends on how many guests you've invited and how many will be attending. So we will discuss that at your event readiness meeting, and we'll get it all set up. Photo booth. Good times. If you decide you'd like to utilize the photo booth, either from Spruce Street Studios or another vendor, you'll need to let us know at your event readiness meeting so we can determine where you want that photo booth set up. If it's Spruce Street Studios offering you the photo booth, we will determine that space, and we'll make sure to have that set up for you on the day of your event, and we'll have an attendant there for you. If you have an outside vendor bringing in a photo booth, we'll determine that space. You'll need to communicate that with your outside vendor prior to the event. Bar vendors. There's a few things for this one. You'll want to determine the number of hours you want your bar vendors to be at the studio ready to serve to your guests. Let us know how many, 1 or 2. If you have more than 200, maybe you'll want 2 bartenders for a few hours. We'll schedule the time for them to come in at your event readiness meeting. We'll schedule the number of hours you want them to be there. Also, you'll want to list your bartenders' names, which we'll provide to you on your event insurance policies. This is a requirement policy. And also, you will need to pay your bar vendor prior to their shift via cash on the day of the event. So you can have an envelope ready and maybe have a bridesmaid or a mom or somebody hand the envelope to the bar vendor before their shift starts. And what we'll do is we will make sure to schedule your bar vendor for you and make sure that our event managers work with the bar vendors to protect your event policy and your damage deposit. Let's talk about your bar stock. You'll need to provide us with a list of alcohol that you'll be bringing in, beer, wine, mixed drinks. If you have a specialty drink, please give us the recipe for your specialty drink and create a menu maybe that you can place on the bar so that your guests know what you're serving. If you bring in a keg, make sure the kegs are cold. If you bring in a warm keg, our keg raters are only meant to keep the kegs cool once they're brought in cold, but they don't chill a warm keg. And if you bring in a warm keg, there's nothing we can do about it. It will be foamy. So you want to make sure to bring in cold kegs when you purchase them. Also, we need to ensure that your guests know that the bar is closed until your bar vendor arrives to start serving alcohol that evening. What we'll do is we'll make sure to schedule an event manager to be on site to allow you to bring in all of your alcohol prior to the event, and this will be within your scheduled time frames. We'll communicate the instructions from your event readiness meeting with your bar vendor, your specialty drinks, so they're all prepared with all the tools that they need. And we will put a sign on the bar stating when the bar opens if you have it open after your event begins. Bar supplies. You will supply cups, napkins, fruit, alcohol, mixers, and ice for the bar vendor prior to their arrival. And we have wine and beer openers, cutting board, knife, cooler, ice bucket, and a kegerator. And you can keep extra ice down in the freezer downstairs. You can go on an ice run if you need to. We just can't have alcohol coming in and out of the studio during the event. But ice, definitely, you can go back and forth to get. Replenishing bar inventory. Your bar vendor will replenish the bar inventory from the stock that you have on hand. So no alcohol is to come in and out of the building once again. And they will be responsible, the bar vendor will be responsible to restock all of the supplies that you have for your bar. Let's talk about your table layout and setup. At your event readiness meeting, we will discuss the layout of your room, where your guest tables will be, how your head table will be arranged, where you want your DJ, where you want your cake table, gift tables, catering tables, sign-in, all of that, appetizer table. Sometimes clients will do a kid table area. So we'll discuss all of that at your event readiness meeting, and we'll set the general layout. The only thing that will possibly change inside of that event readiness meeting, which will be 30 days prior to your event, will be maybe the number of guest tables. We'll get your final head count 2 weeks prior to your event, and that will determine the exact number of guest tables that you'll need. But other than that, we will preset that setup and draw a little diagram. And then Spruce Street Studios will make sure to have all the tables set up with all of the linen on the tables when you come in to decorate for your event. Okay, let's talk about moving tables and chairs at your event. When we discuss your table layout at your event readiness meeting, we'll determine if there are any tables that will need to be moved. For example, if you have a large guest list and you need to make room for a dance floor area, we'll discuss what tables specifically you'd like to have moved, and the event managers will make sure to remove those tables in a timely fashion and as discreetly as possible. So we'll make sure to get that sorted out during your event readiness meeting and then communicate that to the event managers for the day of. Linen. We will get your final head count 2 weeks prior so that we can order the linen for your event in your specified color. It is really important to have your guest list set at 2 weeks prior to your event because we do need to order the linen and they need plenty of time to make sure to prepare them for your event. That will be due 2 weeks prior to your event final head count. We will make sure all the linen that comes in is checked for spots, and we will make sure to lay all the linen on the table for you so it is all ready for you to come in and decorate. Let's discuss cleanup. Unless you've purchased next day cleanup hours, all of your personal belongings, decor, food, and alcohol all need to be removed the night of your event. Also, outdoors, cigarette butts, cans, and leftover trash needs to be put into the trash receptacles to avoid additional charges. What we'll do is we will take out the trash, clean the linen and the studio, the bar, the suites, and the restrooms. So you don't have to worry about anything else. We just need to make sure that all of your belongings and all of your food and alcohol are removed from the studio the night of. The cleanup crew comes in and they trash everything, so everything will go in the trash the night of, unless we find a lost cell phone or a leftover coat. We'll try and keep that for you so you can pick it up at a later date. Prep area, that's the prep kitchen down in the basement. So the prep area is basically for food preparation and to store your cold and frozen items. At the end of the evening, everything needs to be removed from the prep area, personal belongings, food containers, food, or anything that you have frozen in the freezers. Please make us aware if you plan to use crock pots, because we have to make sure that we have those plugged in specific outlets, because those crock pots, they blow fuses all the time. We'll provide the prep area and the refrigerator and freezer, and due to health code restrictions, on-site cooking is not allowed. Flowers. You are more than welcome to bring fresh flowers into the studio in tubs. You can use them to decorate on your tables and anywhere in the studio. We just ask that you don't store flowers in the refrigeration coolers downstairs in the kitchen prep area. Food and flowers cannot be stored together in the coolers. Decorations and furniture. At the event readiness meeting, you'll provide us with a list of the type of decor and furniture that you'll be bringing into the studio so that we can approve those items. We do have some restrictions on items to prevent damage to the studio, which in turn would come out of your damage deposit. So we try to protect you of that loss, and we like creative things, so we encourage you to bring in decorations as long as it's within our guidelines. So you provide us with that list, and then we will in turn provide the event managers with that list, and they will check off everything that you bring in to the studio to make sure it's all in line with what we've discussed at the event readiness meeting. Ceremony. You'll want to designate someone to manage the ceremony, maybe a friend or a family member that's not in your bridal party, and they can dismiss rows or pass out programs. Our event managers will make sure to have the chairs all set up for you, that the room is a decent temperature for you, and that the lighting is adjusted to what you wish. Chairs. You'll give us your final head count 2 weeks prior to your event, and we'll make sure that all the chairs are set up for your ceremony. If it is indoors, we'll have that set up the day, probably the night before, so you can have your rehearsal. If it is an outdoor event, we will check the weather on weather.com. If 24 hours prior to your ceremony there's a 50% chance or more of rain, we will revert to your Plan B option, which is to have your ceremony inside, and we will set it up accordingly. Ceremony party favors. So if you have something that you would like for your guests to throw at you, we'll get that information from you 30 days in advance at your event readiness meeting so that we make sure that they are approved throwing items. Candles are great. We love candles. It creates a great ambiance. At your event readiness meeting, just let us know what type of candles you plan to use, battery operated or the good old-fashioned candles that you light, and what type of containers that they'll be housed in so that we can approve that for you. Candles do a lot of damage to linen if they're not contained properly, so we want to make sure to protect your damage deposit in that way. You'll want to make sure to designate a family member or a friend to come in ahead of time and light your candles for you if you need it. A lot of our clients forget reserve signs. If you don't have a seating chart, you may want to get creative and create some reserve signs ahead of time to bring in when you come to decorate for your event and place them on the designated tables you would like to reserve for very close friends and family. Appetizers. If space allows in the coolers, you are more than welcome to bring appetizers in and store them in the cooler ahead of time. You'll want to designate someone to come in before your event starts, as long as it's within your designated time frames. Our event managers will be there to let whoever you designate into the building. Just let us know at the event readiness meeting if you plan to have appetizers, so that we can make sure that it is within the scheduled time frame that you have someone come in to uncover those items and get them ready for your guests to arrive. You may want to communicate with your master of ceremonies, your DJ, or your caterer. We touched on this earlier, to dismiss tables. So you may want to coordinate someone to do that, and let us know ahead of time what time your dinner hour will be, so that we'll make sure the event managers are there and ready to empty garbage receptacles and keep those areas clear and cleaned up for you. Leftover food. Many times we overorder food for our event. A lot of our clients don't want to not have enough food, so often there are leftovers. Make sure to pre-arrange some containers with lids. We don't allow containers without lids in the cooler for leftovers, so make sure to have a container with lids available for your caterer to put leftovers in and then put downstairs in the cooler. Make sure to remove that food at the end of the evening, or all of the leftovers will be discarded. Cake. You'll want to discuss with someone to cut your cake, designate a bridesmaid or mom or aunt to cut the cake for you and serve the cake. Also, please make sure to have cake boxes to put leftover cake in, to be put down in the cooler until your departure that evening. If you have leftover cake and you decide you want to leave it, we will eat it. Children. I think children sometimes do more damage than adults. Please ensure that all children are supervised at all times. Our event managers are very busy and cannot keep their eyes on the children at all times. We don't allow them into the basement areas or other areas of the building. And also, please make sure the children are supervised when they're outside, that they're not running through the garden areas, as that causes damage and takes away from your damage deposit. So please supervise your children. Our outdoor garden area. Please ensure that all guests distinguish their cigarette butts in the provided receptacles. We can incur an extra charge for cigarette butts that are left out on the sidewalks. It is extremely difficult to clean up. So we have a designated area for cigarettes to be distinguished. We would really like if you could use those areas to avoid no extra charge. Also, drinking is prohibited outside. Our event managers will make sure that no one is drinking outside. We have signage stating that drinking is not allowed outdoors unless it is part of a specific designated cocktail hour, which our event managers will be outside managing. But other than that, no alcohol is allowed outdoors. Let your guests know that if they need a high chair, they need to bring one in. We don't provide high chairs currently at this time. Room lighting. Let us know how you want your lighting to go. If you want to talk with us at your event readiness meeting and let us know, at dinner time we want the lights not so dim, and then for dancing a little bit dimmer, we'll make sure to set the ambiance for you. Just let our event managers know. At the event readiness meeting, let us know if you'll put a courtesy basket out for your guests. Our event managers will make sure that the restrooms are clean and clear and that they're functioning properly. Thank you for watching this video on the event readiness guidelines. I think that if you follow these guidelines, you will have a very smooth and successful event.